The hum was the first thing to slice through the blackness, a high-frequency vibration that rattled his teeth and resonated deep in his bones. Then came the pain, a supernova blossoming behind his eyes. Kaelen's groan was a ragged tear in the sudden, terrible silence. He tasted copper and ozone. The ship's emergency lighting flickered, casting the cockpit in a strobe-like hell of crimson and shadow. The Vagabond was dead. He'd flown her through blockades in the Orion Nebula, skimmed the event horizon of a black hole in the Tartarus system, but a pissant ion storm on a backwater planet had finally gutted her. Alarms blared a frantic, useless eulogy. Through the fractured viewport, a landscape of crystalline dunes glittered under a sky boiling with violet rage. Lightning spiderwebbed across the heavens, each strike not just seen but felt, a physical punch of charged particles that made the fillings in his molars ache. "Cargo," he rasped, the words scraping his throat raw. His payday, the one that was supposed to get him clear of the bounty on his head. He unbuckled, his muscles screaming in protest, and stumbled through the mangled corridor toward the hold. The inner door was buckled, bent inward like a crushed can. He put his shoulder to it, grunting with effort until it shrieked open. The hold was a disaster zone, but in the center, miraculously intact, was the stasis pod. It was a sleek, pearlescent thing, and it was hissing. A deep fissure was racing across its surface, frost blooming along the edges. Not good. He'd been paid to deliver the pod, not what was inside. But before he could even process the loss of his credits, the pod cracked open with a sound like shattering ice. A small hand, impossibly slender, reached out. It was followed by a child. A girl, no older than 10 by human standards, with skin that shimmered like twilight and hair that floated around her head like liquid mercury, defying gravity. Her eyes, wide and silver, fixed on him. And then the vellum on her skin flared to life. Intricate, bioluminescent patterns raced across her throat and arms, a language of pure, terrified light. She let out a scream, not of air and lungs, but of pure psychic energy that lanced through Kaelen's mind, a high, desperate shriek that was absolutely not human. It carried with it the ghost of another sound, another memory, the wail of station klaxons, the scent of burning metal, a small hand he'd failed to grasp. He flinched, shoving the memory down. "Easy, kid," he grunted, raising his hands. "I'm not gonna hurt you." Outside, another sound cut through the storm. The distinct whine of repulsor lift engines. Multiple. He peered through a tear in the hull and his blood ran cold. Armored figures, their black chrome carapaces absorbing the lightning, were sweeping across the dunes. Chrome Legion, vultures, slavers. They were here for the cargo. For the girl. Every cynical, self-serving instinct in Kaelen's body screamed at him to run, to grab a medkit and a power pack and disappear into the storm. But the girl's silver eyes were locked on his, her glowing skin pulsing with a terror so profound it was a physical force. And the Legion was here. He knew what they did to unique specimens. He looked at the girl, then at the approaching soldiers, and a string of curses escaped his lips, each one more bitter than the last. He wasn't a hero. He was a smuggler with a price on his head. But letting the Legion take this child, some lines you just didn't cross. "All right, Starlight," he muttered, scooping her up. She weighed almost nothing. "Looks like you and me are taking the scenic route." He kicked open a service hatch and plunged into the howling, glass-sharp sand of the storm, the girl's silent scream still echoing in his skull. They ran. The wind was a physical wall, driving razor-sharp shards of crystallized sand into their clothes. Kaelen shielded the girl with his body, his jacket already being shredded. The Chrome Legion searchlights cut cones of sterile white through the violet maelstrom. The girl, Lyra, clung to him, her liquid mercury hair wrapping around his neck. Suddenly, she stiffened in his arms. Her throat vellum pulsed, a soft, rhythmic blue. Ahead of them, a gust of wind coalesced, spinning into a miniature cyclone that tore a new ravine in the crystalline dune, directly in their path. A dead end. But then the cyclone veered, slamming into a rock outcropping to their left, creating a perfect curtain of dust and debris. A diversion. Kaelen stared at the girl. She looked exhausted, her glow dimming, but her silver eyes were focused, intentional. She was the cargo. the valuable cargo. Before he could question the impossible, another sound rose above the storm. A chorus of resonant calls like singing crystal. Over the ridge they appeared. Figures on the backs of six-legged panther-like beasts, moving with a fluid grace that defied the raging storm. Their skin was the color of twilight, their hair spun moonlight. Sylvari. The girl, Lyra, reached a trembling hand toward them, her vellum flaring with a pattern of relieved gold. The lead rider, a woman of breathtaking and deadly grace, urged her mount forward. Her silver hair was bound in a complex warrior's braid, and the vellum on her throat and arms glowed with an authority that was absolute. She dismounted, her armored boots making no sound on the glass sand. Her eyes, the color of amethyst in a sunset, locked onto Kaelen. They weren't angry. They were colder, harder than that. They were assessing. "You have something of ours, human," she said, her voice like honey poured over a razor's edge. Her gaze flickered to the Legion's searchlights, then back to him. The situation was clear. He was caught between the slavers and the natives. "I was keeping it from them," Kaelen retorted, nodding toward the Legion. The warrior woman Seraphina took a step closer. Her vellum shifted, patterns of deep indigo flowing across her skin. Curiosity, skepticism. The Chrome Legion does not hunt trinkets. They hunt weapons. Why do they want a child? She looked down at Lyra, and her expression softened for a fraction of a second. She is a whisperer, a priceless asset they would twist into a living weapon. So that was it. The kid could talk to the weather. Wonderful. Just his luck. "The Covenant of Echoes is clear," Seraphina stated, her gaze hardening again. "You have saved a child of the bloodline. You will come with us." It wasn't a request. It was a fact. Before Kaelen could argue, a second group of Sylvari warriors crested the dune. These were different. Their armor was edged in jagged obsidian, their vellum pulsing with aggressive crimson light. The one in the lead, a woman with a cruel smile and eyes like chips of ice, dismounted and sauntered toward them. Her gaze raked over Kaelen with possessive intensity. "Seraphina," the newcomer purred, her voice dripping with ancient animosity. "Cleaning up another off-worlder's mess?" "Zira." Seraphina's voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "The child is safe. That is all that matters." Zira's eyes narrowed, focusing on Kaelen. He touched her. "An outsider. The law is the law. He must face the resonance trial." Her crimson vellum flared. "And I declare my intent to claim him." The tension between the two women was a physical thing, a pressure in the air that had nothing to do with the storm. Kaelen looked from Seraphina's cold duty to Zira's predatory hunger and realized he hadn't escaped anything. He'd just traded one cage for another, far more complicated one. The Sylvari Enclave wasn't a city. It was a living thing, a colossal, interconnected network of great trees, their luminous bark casting a soft, golden glow. Rope bridges and gracefully carved platforms spiraled thousands of feet into the canopy. The air hummed with a latent energy, smelling of alien blossoms and damp earth. It was beautiful, and it felt like a prison. Lyra had been taken by the healers, her small body racked with a fever from the stasis pod's failure. A fever their herbal remedies couldn't break. That's how Kaelen found himself in a high-canopy healing chamber, working beside Seraphina. "The cellular degradation is accelerating," he said, pointing at the readings on his wrist-mounted med scanner. "Your poultices are just treating the symptoms. We need to introduce a stabilizing agent to repair the stasis damage at a genetic level." Seraphina watched him, her arms crossed, her vellum a guarded shade of violet. "You would poison her with human chemicals." "I would save her with science," he shot back, his patience wearing thin. "Look, she's your sister, I get it. But right now, her Terran DNA marker is the only thing my tech can lock onto. Let me help." He held out the injector, a sleek metal tool filled with a shimmering, nanite-rich fluid. For a long moment, she just stared at him, her amethyst eyes searching his. Finally, she gave a single sharp nod. He knelt by Lyra's bedside. The child was shivering, her vellum flickering weakly. As he worked, preparing the injection site on her arm, his hand brushed against Seraphina's. The contact was electric. A jolt of pure information flooded his senses. He saw a flash of Zira, smiling, their vellum intertwined in a dance of golden light. He felt a wave of profound betrayal, sharp and cold as ice. He felt the crushing weight of a huntress's duty, the loneliness of command. He jerked his hand back as if burned, stumbling away. "What the hell was that?" he gasped, breathing heavily. Serafina looked at him, her expression unreadable, but the vellum on her throat was a maelstrom of swirling, chaotic colors. "Our skin speaks the truth, human. It is called the echo. You felt a fragment of my past. A warning to not trifle with what you cannot comprehend." Later, a Legion patrol, drawn by the Vagabond's dying transponder, forced the Enclave into lockdown. A hunting party had been caught out in the open, and Kaelen and Serafina were dispatched to guide them back through ancient hidden pathways. One of these paths led them through a tight, bioluminescent root hollow. They were pressed together in the dark, the air thick with the scent of moss and charged energy. Outside, the clank of Legion armor and the synthesized barks of their cyber hounds echoed. "Synchronize your breathing," Serafina whispered, her breath warm against his ear. "They have acoustic sensors. Match my rhythm." He focused, matching the slow, deliberate rise and fall of her chest against his back. In the enclosed space, her vellum was the only light, painting shifting patterns on the gnarled roots around them. It pulsed in time with their shared breaths, a soft, hypnotic rhythm of deep blue and tranquil silver. "Tell me about Zira," he murmured, the question slipping out before he could stop it. The vellum flared a brief, sharp crimson. Pain. "We were bondmates," she said, her voice tight. "Before the Legion came, before they bombed the nesting grounds. She saw my caution as weakness. She believes the only way to be strong is to dominate, to take. She broke our bond to forge her own phalanx, one built on aggression and hate. And she wants to claim me in this resonance trial," Kaelen stated. "It is not a prize, human. It is an ordeal. A psychic and physical labyrinth designed to break an individual down to their core essence, to see if it resonates with a partner. Zira does not want a partner. She wants to prove she can shatter you. A message to me." She shifted, turning her head slightly. Her amethyst eyes found his in the glowing dark. "The matriarch has decreed it. The trial will proceed at the next moon, and as huntress, I am bound by duty to train you, to prepare you to be claimed by the woman who betrayed me." The irony was as thick and suffocating as the air in the hollow. He had to survive, only to be handed over as a living trophy to a sociopath, all while being trained by the one person here he was beginning to think he could trust. The universe, Kaelen decided, had a truly sick sense of humor. The training grounds were a series of platforms high in the canopy where the wind whistled and the consequences of a misstep were fatal. The Sylvari glaive was a nightmare of a weapon, part staff, part blade, all lethal, elegant balance. Kaelen, used to the brutal efficiency of a pulse rifle, felt like a clumsy brute. "You fight with your shoulders," Serafina criticized, her voice sharp. She moved behind him, her body fitting against his back as she adjusted his grip. "The power comes from your core, from the ground up. Don't fight the weapon's weight. Become its center." Her instruction was intimate, her hands guiding his, her breath ghosting across his neck. He could feel the tension in her, the strict control she maintained. Every point of contact was a lesson in combat, and a lesson in the fierce restraint that defined her. But he was a fast learner. He started to understand the dance, the flow. In one session, he anticipated her lunge, used the glaive's momentum to pivot, reversing their positions and trapping her weapon against a support beam. They were chest to chest, his face inches from hers. Her vellum flared, a complex pattern of surprise and something else, something warmer that made his pulse hammer. "You learn too quickly," she breathed. "I have a good teacher," he replied, his voice rougher than he intended. The moment was shattered by a mocking, slow clap. Zira stood at the edge of the platform, her blood-winged phalanx behind her. "How touching," she purred, her crimson vellum pulsing with amusement. "Are you teaching him how to fight, Serafina? Or how to surrender?" She strode forward, her movements a predator's glide. "The trial is not won with elegant blocks. It is won with a killer's will." She turned to Kaelen. "She will teach you to survive. I will teach you to win. Your choice." Before Serafina could protest, Zira grabbed Kaelen, pulling him into a series of aggressive, brutal maneuvers. This wasn't training. It was an assault. She was showing off, her every move designed to provoke Serafina, to show Kaelen what true, unrestrained power felt like. But Kaelen had been a soldier. He recognized the desperate rage under her flawless technique. In a break, he didn't attack. He stood his ground. "She's not your enemy," he said, his voice low and calm. "The Legion is. The ones who burned your home. Your anger is a weapon, but you're aiming it at the wrong target." Zira froze. Her vellum flickered, the aggressive crimson faltering, showing a flash of deep wounded purple underneath. For a split second, he saw not a rival, but a survivor, twisted by grief into something she was never meant to be. She recovered quickly, her mask of cruelty slamming back into place, but the crack had shown. During one of their late-night strategy sessions, poring over maps of the Enclave's defenses, Kaelen noticed it. A faint, almost imperceptible shimmer in the vellum of one of the guards in the holographic display. A distortion. "What's that?" he asked, pointing. Serafina leaned closer. "It is nothing. A feedback loop in the recording." "No," Kaelen insisted, zooming in. "It's a signal. A sub-frequency broadcast. It's subtle, like a whisper under a shout. Someone is feeding your patrol routes to the Legion." He cross-referenced the guards' appearances with recent Legion ambushes. The correlation was perfect. There was a traitor, and they were using the vellum itself, the Sylvari's greatest strength, as a weapon against them. And the resonance trial, a ceremony that would draw the attention of the entire Enclave, was now just days away. It wasn't just a personal ordeal anymore. It was a trap. A carefully laid ambush for the entire Sylvari race. The night of the resonance trial was electric. The air in the central chamber, a massive hollow in the heart of the mother tree, was thick with the scent of silver sage and anticipation. The entire Enclave had gathered, their collective vellum creating a silent, shimmering orchestra of light. Kaelen stood on the central platform, stripped to the waist, his human skin bare under the glow of 1,000 Sylvari. The labyrinth wasn't physical. It was a psychic projection, a landscape of fear and memory woven by the matriarch. He had to walk through his own personal hell and emerge whole on the other side. As the ritual began, the world dissolved. He was back on Kepler Station, the alarms screaming, the air venting into the void. He saw the small hand, the one he'd failed to grasp, slip away into the fire. He was in the deserts of Tartarus IV, betrayed by his own unit, left for dead. The phantoms of his past clawed at him, whispering his failures. He fought back, pushing through the pain, fueled by a new, unfamiliar resolve. He wasn't that man anymore. He saw Serafina in his mind, her steady amethyst eyes, and he walked on. He emerged from the trance, shaking but standing, to find Zyra waiting for him at the labyrinth's exit. Her vellum was a predatory crimson. This was the final stage, a duel of will. But as their eyes met, the chamber's sacred calm was shattered by the scream of plasma fire. Explosions ripped through the upper levels of the Enclave. The Chrome Legion had arrived. Chaos erupted. The holographic feed from the perimeter showed Legion soldiers swarming the outer defenses, moving with impossible precision. "The traitors work. It's a trap," Serafina yelled, her glaive already in hand. The Legion commander appeared on the main viewer, his face a mask of scarred arrogance. "Your Whisperer is a planetary-scale weapon, Matriarch. Give her to us, or we will burn this forest to the ground." In the ensuing chaos, the traitor made his move. A guard Kaelen recognized from the distorted vellum recordings. He lunged for Lyra. Zyra, who was closest, reacted without thinking. She didn't attack Kaelen. She didn't make a play for power. She moved to protect the child, her glaive a silver blur as she cut the traitor down. She looked at Serafina, a lifetime of conflict passing between them in a single glance. She had made her choice. But the Legion was already deploying their primary weapon, a massive focusing crystal being lowered from their command ship, designed to amplify Lyra's power and turn the storm into a world killer. "My ship," Kaelen said, his mind racing. "The Vagabond's power core is unstable. If I can get to it, I can trigger a cascade failure. A massive EMP. It'll fry every piece of Legion tech in the valley, including that crystal. You'll be at the epicenter," Serafina protested, grabbing his arm. "It will kill you!" "It's the only way," he said, his eyes finding hers. "Trust me." He ran, Seraphina and Zira, fighting back-to-back with the ferocity of their shared past, held the line, buying him the precious seconds he needed. Kaelen reached the mangled wreck of his ship, the charging whine of the Legion's weapon growing louder. He bypassed the safety protocols on the core, red lights flashing a final desperate warning. Seraphina appeared at his side, her face grim. "I'm not leaving you. I'm not asking you to," he said, his hands flying across the console. "Get ready." He hit the final sequence and the core began to glow, a furious, white-hot energy building within it. "Now!" he yelled. Seraphina threw herself around him, her back to the core. Her entire body erupted in a blaze of protective amethyst light, her vellum working to absorb the impossible energy. Outside, Lyra, seeing their sacrifice, reached out with her mind. She didn't calm the storm. She grabbed it. She pulled the lightning from the sky, weaving it into a spear of pure white-hot energy, and hurled it at the Legion command ship. The world went white. The EMP detonated with a silent, invisible shockwave. Every Legion weapon, every engine, every light went dead. Lyra's lightning spear struck the ship's bridge, turning it into a molten ruin. The Legion was broken. As the light faded, Kaelen saw Zira standing alone on a precipice, holding off a final, desperate wave of Legion soldiers, her glaive a whirlwind of silver. She bought them their victory with her life, and her vellum flared a final brilliant crimson before she was overwhelmed. A warrior's death, a worthy end. In the wreck of the Vagabond, Seraphina collapsed, her light fading. Kaelen caught her, lowering her gently. The energy feedback had been too much. He was alive, but his hands shook uncontrollably, his nervous system fried. He looked at the woman in his arms, the forest that was saved, and the child who had become a storm, and knew that nothing would ever be the same. Weeks later, the Enclave was healing. The scent of silver sage was mixed with the smell of fresh-cut wood and ozone as the Sylvari rebuilt. Zira's memorial was the grandest of all, a testament to her final redemptive sacrifice. Kaelen sat on a balcony overlooking the valley. His hands still trembled, the nerve damage from the EMP a constant reminder of his sacrifice. He couldn't hold a cup without spilling, let alone a weapon. His life as a fighter, a smuggler, a soldier was over. Seraphina found him there. She moved with a new quietness, her own body still recovering from channeling the core's energy. Her vellum, once a perfect sea of amethyst, now had faint silvery traces woven through it, like constellations. The echo of his human energy signature, a permanent mark, a bond forged in fire. "The resonance trial is being rewritten," she said, her voice soft. "It will no longer be a trial of claiming, but a right of partnership, of choosing." She sat beside him, not speaking, just sharing the silence. He had been so sure his purpose was in his hands, in their strength, their speed, their skill. Now that was gone. He felt useless. He looked at his shaking hands, a wave of despair washing over him. Without a word, Seraphina reached out and took his trembling hand in hers. Her vellum flared, a calm, steady blue. The light flowed over his skin, and for the first time in weeks, the shaking stopped. A quiet strength flowed from her to him, a shared connection that went deeper than words. He looked at her, truly looked, and saw not a huntress or a warrior, but his partner, his equal. Lyra padded out onto the balcony, curling up beside them. She leaned her head against Kaelen's shoulder, her own vellum a soft, contented gold. A new family born from the wreckage of a starship and the heart of a storm. Kaelen looked out at the horizon, at the endless sea of green under a sky now calm and clear. He had come to this world a cynical rogue, running from his past, looking for a payday. He had lost his ship, his skills, his old life. But here, in the quiet glow of the woman beside him and the child who trusted him, he had found something he never knew he was looking for. A home. The story of Kaelen and the Sylvari is just beginning. What new threats will they face? What other secrets does this world hold? Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. And let us know in the comments. Should Kaelen try to regain his fighting skills or find a new way to be a protector? We read every single one. Thanks for watching.